In the interview, Shakur talked about his beef with Biggie and settled the score on his time in prison. A Vibe article had previously claimed that Shakur was in danger for his life behind bars, but the rapper was keen to tell the world that he had been treated with respect. Shakur was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas on September 13, 1996.
Yes.
He was seated in a parked car with Suge Knight, the manager of his record label, and the man who had posted his $1.4 million bail. Excerpts from Shakur's final interview were released in 1997 on a bonus disc accompanying the posthumously released Thug and Moral documentary. There can be no discussion about Tupac Shakur's tragic end without also mentioning that of his bitter rival, the notorious B.I.G., who was shot and killed in a close to identical drive-by shooting just 6 months later. Biggie's final interview took place on February 24, 1997, just 2 weeks before his death, on the set of the music video for Hypnotize. Tragically, the single would become the soundtrack to the rapper's funeral. At the time, the world was eagerly awaiting Biggie's follow-up to his smash debut album, Ready to Die, and the rapper discussed the scale of the forthcoming double album, Life After Death. Notably, Biggie believed the album would help him get his spot back after a period of making guest appearances and mentoring artists such as Junior Mafia. His interviewer also congratulated the rapper on the birth of his second son, CJ. At one point in the interview, Biggie appeared to regret how destructive his feud with Tupac had become.
We two individual people, we waged a coastal beef. You know what I'm saying?
Asked what he learned since his rival's death, Biggie claimed that he believed that it was his responsibility to squash the beef that had wreaked such deadly harm on the hip-hop community.
I gotta be the one to flip it and take my power and flip it like, yo, they gotta be dead, you know what I'm saying? Because he can't do that.
The former NWA star and influential West Coast hip-hop legend Eazy-E was expanding his focus in the last months of his life. As well as working on his solo material, 31-year-old Eric Wright had recently set up his own record label, Ruthless Records, and was championing a new generation of artists. However, as he discussed in his final interview with Rap Pages, recorded in January 1995, he was also embroiled in a number of disputes with several of the artists he had signed. Wright claimed that his treatment of the artists in question had been fair, however. The interview is notable for Wright's turn against his former bandmate Dr. Dre and his affiliate Snoop Dogg, with Wright claiming that they're not real, it's all acting. Of course, this was a bombshell claim when West Coast gangsta rap was at its peak, and when authenticity was key to artistic credibility. Worse than that, though, is that Wright can be heard coughing and struggling to catch his breath in the recording. Tragically, the rapper did not know at the time that he had contracted HIV, and that he would soon be in the hospital with AIDS-induced pneumonia. The rapper sent a message to fans from his deathbed, warning of the dangers of the disease that was stigmatized and little understood in the general population. In his final statement, he said, "I've learned in the last week that this thing is real and it doesn't discriminate. It affects everyone."
It's death.
Having first made his name under the moniker Zev Love X in the early 1990s, Daniel DeMille left the rap game for 3 whole years following the death of his brother and musical partner, DJ Sabrock. He emerged with his new persona, MF Doom, after having spent a period of hardship living on the streets. DeMille found himself alienated from the hip-hop community after being denied re-entry to the U.S. in 2010. He was born in London, and that is where he found himself banished in the years that followed. He still managed to release music, the most notable being 2012's JJ Doom, a collaboration with Gennaro Jarrell, as well as 2 collaborations with Inspector Dex Czarface. But the final decade of Doom's life was dominated by tragedy, specifically the death of his teenage son in 2017. DeMille's last known interview was with Spin Magazine in 2019, celebrating the 15th anniversary of his acclaimed studio album Mad Villainy. In the interview, DeMille shocked his fan base by claiming that he didn't care about hip-hop and didn't listen to the genre either. He said he only wrote rhymes to get paid. He died October 31st, 2020. No cause of death was made public. Lisa Left Eye Lopez was seen at a crossroads in her life around the time of the tragic car accident that took her life on April 25th, 2002. She had just turned 30, and the breakout star of TLC was looking to assert herself in her solo career following the release of her debut album Supernova, which had performed poorly. Lopez's relationship with her TLC bandmates had become distant, and it is likely that the rapper was looking to shed her identity as a member of the group, with the hope of finding greater artistic freedom. Lopez announced that her new identity was Nina, an acronym standing for New Identity Not Applicable. The fan site TLC Army suggests that the name was chosen by Suge Knight, the notorious owner of Death Row Records, who had been in the car with Tupac Shakur when the rapper was shot. Lopez had recently signed to his new label, Thought Row Records, from whom she was recording her second album. In her last television appearance, Lopez is seen seated with Knight, claiming that her new label was a family with a lot of love.
She was seated with
Referring
Suge
to Lopez as
Knight.
Nina, the interviewer asks whether there is still a left eye, to which the star responds,
Left Eye is in TLC. Anything outside of Left Eye, outside of TLC, would be Nina.
Pipe Dog was a member of
Pac talked about my Nina.
and a signature flow played an
Remember?
integral part to their best-loved records.